Zechariah 4, verse 11. Do not despise these small beginnings, for the Lord rejoices to see the work begin. Zechariah 4, verse 6. So he said to me, This is the word of the Lord to Zerubbabel, not by might, nor by power, but by my Spirit, says the Lord Almighty. Luke 16, verse 10. Whoever can be trusted with very little can also be trusted with much, and whoever is dishonest with very little will also be dishonest with much. The other day, I was talking with a young woman that I mentor. She is at the very beginning of a season of real transformation. She has surrendered some patterns in her life that were very destructive and has submitted herself to a path of recovery. And in these beginning weeks, there's a lot for her to take in. It's a whole change in her lifestyle, in her choices, in her relationships, in her self-care, and it's overwhelming. She was saying to me, there's so much to do. There's so much work to do. There's so much to change, and there's so much to learn. I'm overwhelmed. And I thought about this passage in Zechariah that talks about small beginnings. And I told this young woman to just start where she is, to just grab a hold of the good things, the good choices that are within reach for her today, and to keep it really, really simple. Even if it just means a few minutes of journaling, a few minutes walking out in the fresh air, a few minutes on the phone talking with the healthy influences in her life, a few minutes absorbing positive ideas through literature that she listens to, podcasts that she listens to. Oh my goodness. I wonder if it's going to rain again. Maybe it's something as simple as taking a hot shower and using your favorite soap, or making a simple meal. And she and I talked about healthy eating and whole foods and creating really nourishing, balanced meals. And then she said, I'm exhausted. I'm at the beginning and I'm exhausted. My body just wants to rest. And I said, you know what? Sometimes self-care is just making that packet of ramen noodles and throwing an egg on top and calling it a nourishing meal. Because we have to start somewhere. We have to give ourselves the grace and give ourselves a way forward at the beginning. And she was so encouraged. She felt like, you know what? I can start here. I can start where I am with what's in reach and just make baby steps, just make small, healthy decisions for myself. And it got me thinking about this passage in Zechariah, because I think about how many times in my own life God has invited me to begin something new, something uncomfortable, unfamiliar, that I don't feel qualified to be doing, that I have no formal training in, or I've never had any instruction in. And I hear God's still small voice in my heart saying, do this. And I think, how am I going to do that? And also, oftentimes, how is doing that small thing going to make any difference in my life or in the lives of other people? It just doesn't seem to even make sense. It doesn't seem related to what I'm good at. It doesn't seem related to how I'm already serving. It doesn't seem like I can think of how that could possibly be beneficial to others. But what I've seen and experienced time and again is the small beginnings, when we listen to the voice of God and are willing to obey and do what He has asked us to do, it leads to so much beauty and so much goodness for ourselves and for others. And the other portion of Zechariah talks about how all of this happens by God's Spirit. It's not through our might. It's not through our own power. But when we lean into a small beginning and we're willing to take a step forward into this new, unfamiliar, tender thing that God is inviting us into, it's His Spirit that is the power, that is the transforming power. It's His Spirit which offers the open doors and the miracles and the healing. So that is very encouraging. And it kind of goes along with what we were talking about last week about our own weakness. When we're starting off something new, something small and tender, we will usually feel very weak. We will feel incapable, lacking in skills, lacking in confidence, lacking in experience, lacking in qualification. But none of that matters when it's God who's in charge. When we are obeying God, He's the one who will provide the power, the might, the grace, the blessing. He's the one who will grow us from the inside out, so that whatever that small thing is that we have been humble enough and willing enough to begin, He will grow it into something magnificent. And it just takes willingness and humility and courage to take the first step and to know that God will protect us in that small beginning. One really beautiful advantage of a small beginning is that it's usually private. It's usually private. God gives us a chance to begin this tender, new, foreign thing in a protective cloak of privacy. We don't have to be on display. We don't have to be on a public platform. We don't have to talk about it even to anybody else. We just need to obey. And so, in the protection of that private place, we can make a start. And day by day, we can check in with God and say, am I doing what you would have me do? Am I being what you would have me be? How can I best steward over this precious little thing that you have given me? Teach me how to be wise in stewarding over this precious thing. And teach me to be honest with this precious thing. And that takes us into the passage in Luke we read today, which is whoever can be trusted with very little can also be trusted with much. And whoever is dishonest with very little will also be dishonest with much. So I invite you to think about, what small beginning has God placed on your heart? Are you willing to obey? Are you willing to try doing it, even though it feels extremely uncomfortable and you're afraid? But can you take that step, that baby step, in the cloak of God's privacy, in His protection, and see where He takes you? And learn, what does it look like to be trustworthy with this very little thing that God's given me? And what does it mean to be honest about it? I think sometimes when we think of honesty, we think of cash register honesty. But I invite you to think about honesty from the standpoint of alignment. Is how you are behaving with this new small venture, is it in alignment with who God has said you are and the gifts that He's given you? And is it in alignment with the character that He's growing in you, your own integrity? Is it in alignment with your private relationship with God, where He's the one who sees your heart and knows all about you, and you can take that vulnerability and that truth to Him? Are you honest with God about your fears? Are you honest with yourself about your willingness to commit, your willingness to obey? Are you honest with yourself about the time that you've set aside to invest in this small beginning? Are you honest with yourself about what else in your life you might need to set aside or give up entirely in order to pursue this new thing that God has placed on your heart? These kinds of questions lead us to the truth of how we're living, whether we're living in alignment with God or not, and gives us an opportunity to take our concerns and our fears and our feelings of limitation to God and ask Him to bless us with growth in our character, maturity in our faith, and courage to be able to take the first steps into the new beginning. So I hope this encourages you. Know that you're not alone. And believe me when I tell you that whatever that small beginning is that God is inviting you into, is so precious, it's so important, and it is something that will bear beautiful fruit down the line, fruit for you and for others, and will lead more people to God. So lean on these verses to give you courage and instruction in order to move forward, and know that I love you, and so does God. I'll see you next time.